Next is the unveiling of the marker behind us. Which will begin with comments by Carmen Valdivia, here to my left, who is the Operation Pedro Pan Group Historic Committee Chair and Director, Florida City Alumni, Historical Marker Team Leader. Please welcome Carmen.
Hi. The state of Florida has designated the Operation Pedro Pan's Florida City Camp a Florida Heritage Landmark. Operation Pedro Pan was a program created by the Catholic Welfare Bureau of Miami in December of 1960 at the request of parents in Cuba to provide an opportunity for them to send their children to Miami in order to avoid Marxist-Leninist indoctrination. Over 14,000 unaccompanied Cuban children arrived through Operation Pedro Pan between December of 1960 and October of 1962. Operation Pedro Pan remains the largest children exodus in the Western Hemisphere. The Catholic Welfare Bureau's Florida City Camp, located here on this site, was the largest of the operations shelters and transit stations. It was operated by the Diocese of Miami's Cuban Children Program with financing from the United States Program for Unaccompanied Cuban Children and under the supervision of the state of Florida and local agencies. It is estimated that between 1961 and 1966, several thousand boys and girls resided on its premises. For the past 2 years, all former Pedro Pan children have been reaching their milestone of the 50th anniversary of their arrival. August 8, 1962 is the date of my arrival. On that day, my sister Isa and I arrived here at the camp for the first time. The camp, which was comprised then of the same buildings that are now on both sides of Northwest 2nd Avenue between 14th and 16th Streets, was surrounded by a chain link fence for our protection. The building behind me was under construction at the time, and we, the girls at the camp, moved into the newly finished building later that year. The entrance to the camp was from 16th Street, with the administration office located in the building on the northeast corner of the intersection of Northwest 2nd Avenue or Pedro Pan Place and 16th Street. I recall that as the band that was transporting us approached the camp's entrance, we were pleasantly surprised to see a large number of cheering children who, while pressing against the fence and against each other, welcomed our arrival. It was late into the evening after having spent the entire day at that infamous La Pecera at Havana's Rancho Boyeros Airport. As most of us remember, La Pecera was that initiation rite we all Pedro Pan had to go through in order to become Pedro Pan children. Isa and I arrived hungry, scared, tired, and empty-handed after having been stripped of everything that was dear to us upon the departure from our homeland. Since the camp's office and dining room were closed for the day, we were taken to the sisters' convent, sisters over there, and the nuns filled out our paperwork and gave us a much welcome sandwich and a glass of cold milk. Immediately after, they introduced us to our house parents, the Cuban couple that would look after us, and the house parents led us to our new house and introduced us to our hermanitas del exilio, the 20 or so girls under their care with whom we would share that temporary home and develop a lifelong sacred bond. With the Cuban Missile Crisis in October of 1962, commercial flights between the United States and Cuba ceased, and Operation Pedro Pan abruptly came to an end. Parents had no avenue of reunification with their children other than through third countries like Mexico, Spain, and Panama. It was a slow and very difficult process for the parents as well as for the children. Isa and I, like all the other girls at the camp, found ourselves not only stranded from our parents, but on opposite sides of what appeared to be a looming nuclear war. Located in an area which was strategic to the war effort, we endured the anxiety and anguish of those caught up in the theater of war, a theater that was displayed before our eyes and whose instruments of destruction aimed at our parents in Cuba. At the same time, our parents watched in horror as Cuba's nuclear armament was aimed at their children here in Florida City. Isa and I lived in the camp for the next 3 years. We left in the summer of 1965 because the camp was closing. Our parents arrived 3 months later after spending 8 months in Mexico waiting for the paperwork to clear. The application for the landmark was prepared and submitted by Jose Antonio Amaro Reyes, who resides in Georgia, Susana Garrandez, who is here, Susie, from Longwood, and me, a local Miami resident. We're all former residents of the camp. The application was sponsored by Operation Pedro Pan Group, Inc., and the idea originated when members of the project team, who were initially brought together by the Miami Herald's online network for Operation Pedro Pan, realized that as grown-ups, many of the camp's former residents who sought to revisit their early refugee experience were unable to locate the site of the camp. Although it was originally conceived as a way of marking its geographic location, it soon evolved into a larger project aimed at preserving the historical and cultural significance of the camp for the state of Florida and in the larger context of the United States-Cuba relations during the Cold War period. In 2009, I started coming back to this site on a daily basis with my Pedro Pan husband, Guillermo Paz, an architect like myself, in order to photograph and inventory the buildings that comprise the former camp and to note their architectural features in order to formulate the physical description aspect of the application of the marker. After a short and unexpected illness this year, my husband was laid to rest the day before the marker arrived, but I assure you that he is here in spirit. The project which took our team over 2 years to complete, also envisioned renaming Pedro Pan Place, the 2-block stretch of Northwest 2nd Avenue that runs through the heart of the old camp between Northwest 16th and 14th Street. The City of Florida City Council recently approved a resolution granting the street naming request, and we just witnessed the unveiling of the street sign with that very special name. This past August, on the eve of my 50th Pedro Pan anniversary, my granddaughter Paloma turned 12. The same age that I was when I arrived at this Pedro Pan place. And it dawned on me that the sacrifice that my parents and all Pedro Pan's parents made is the gift that keeps on giving. Because it not only saved Isa and me, but our children and grandchildren who today enjoy the freedom they intended for us, and now the legacy of selfless love is theirs to pass on. My sister Isa has since passed away. So in both of our names, I thank my mother here in the audience today, my father, who is surely watching with Isa and Guillermo from heaven above. Thank you, Papi, I love you. And the parents of all Pedro Pan brothers and sisters represented here by Eladia Gonzalez and Bernardino Madariaga. Similarly, our deepest gratitude goes to Monsignor Walsh, the person that made it all possible, the Sisters of St. Philip Neri, represented here by Madre Paulina and Maria Victoria Ortega, this noble nation that welcomed us in our hour of need, and the City of Florida City that provided a home for us back then, and to the current mayor and city council for the love and support that they bestowed on us. Thank you.